Welcome back to the channel, everyone. We're here with another meta breakdown. This one is at Final Turn Gaming's event that happened on April 13th of 2024 in Clifton, New Jersey. And before you guys say anything, yes, I know, I'm not wearing my hat. I'm not wearing my signature hat. It's late at night. It's about 10 o'clock for me. I decided to record this video before I go drive all the way up to Webway to go to the regional in about 12 hours. But I don't know, wanted to make content, want to get this up and recorded so I can get this edited for you guys. But let's get right into it. So this regional was, like I said, in New Jersey. This was a 39-player event, almost hit that 40, but it was a pretty good turnout across the board. Like I said, 39 people. The meta was sort of widespread. As we've been seeing a lot of Luxander come up, you're seeing a deck come up a lot more, and the deck that's really on the rise more and more is Machine Gun Fire Diana. This was the highest represented deck in this event. There was 7 of them being played in the regional, next to 4 Luxanders, 4 Erupting Lists, 4 Wintonis, 3 Wind Dianas, 3 Insols, by the way. Mind blowing that we had 3 Insols deck in a single regional. I don't know if they were a team or what happened, but the fact that 3 different people decided to go, yeah, I'm going to go bring Insol to this event is absolutely wild. We had 3 Fire Merlin, and then the rest is pretty much Water Lies, Water Xander, Water Guns. Like I said, you're going to see the graphic here up on the screen now. But yeah, so then cutting on over into our top 4. This, because there was only 39 people, there's only 4 invites going out with this regional. We had a Water Xander Allies convert. That was a 1 of 1 of played. When Diana was converted as well, that was the overall winner of the event, with Water Xander taking second. We had Inso placing in third. Again, amazing that Inso placed third. And then Luxander coming in the 4th place. That was going to be Burner, otherwise known as OK Business. And this was an amazing, amazing meta event. We're going to go dive into their decks very shortly. The fact that we had the Waters Analyst come up as the one of get 100% conversion rate. Wind Diana, I think, ended up having about 3 different people bring Wind Diana. No, sorry. 1 person bring Wind Diana and went ahead and converted on over into it. Oh, sorry. No, I was wrong. I was right. Sorry. There was 3 Wind Diana that did convert into the event. So 3 people converted Wind Diana and was able to go ahead and take that from there. And then we had, like I said, 4 of the 3 Luxanders convert on over. And then we also had the one of the 3 Insols go ahead and convert and get their invite. But with that being said, we're going to go ahead and jump right on into the winning decks and go through the top 4. So jumping into deck number 1, the winner of the regional was Jay Cologne. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Again, I am horrible when it comes to names. If you guys haven't realized this by now, apologies. So it was the Wind Diana. So this is a list I've seen coming around a little bit more. We saw it in a couple of the past couple videos coming up as people are starting to brew more a little bit Wind Diana. Wind has been a really good staple color as sort of the underdog element that's sort of been being played. But we have the basic Diana 1 through 3. We have the Bubble Abundance, Blast Shot Pump to probably deal with a couple of allies, as well as get an extra hit with Duststalker. If you hit an ally, you can then do the redirect damage onto a champion. Flash Grenade to go ahead and get the draw on distant units, Grand Crusader Ring, Seeker's Rifle, Taser Shot. I get, of course, to go ahead and get something like if you level up into Shadow's Twin early enough, you run a Shadow's Twin, Taser Shot load, prevent your opponent from getting putting 2 pretty much markers on your opponent if they decide to level, and they'll take 8 damage. And then Turbulent Bullet to go ahead and buff your allies. This list pretty much revolves around Turbulent Bullet buffing your allies across the board. And we're going to get into the ally list right here. You have the 4 Academy Guides. You're going to get the free levels off of pretty much the Academy Guide, or to make your levels cost a little bit less. So you go ahead and get stabilized into level 1 Diana for 3. Only pay 1 out for level 2 Diana. As this Diana list has an issue of once it goes and plays their combo, they have a really big issue of recouping their hand. So if you're able to keep up your resources and not go negative a much, where you have to go ahead and level and get rid of 2, maybe 3, it's really, really good for this list to keep as much card in hand as possible, because there's such an issue later on getting that value back if you don't kill your opponent quick enough. Run the 4 backstep, pretty much replaces itself in your hand, gives the target unit distant. 4 dungeon guides, of course, 4 evasive maneuvers, 4 Gwaine. This card, like I said before, this card has been really, really good. Gwaine is a card that's being brought in at this point to go ahead and counter the Luxander, counter Fire Merlin. The fact that you're going to get in for the fact that it is a Ranger class bonus as well at this point. That you can go ahead and then get the unchampion hit, and then from there go ahead and banish their Fireball, banish their Luxem Sights, banish their Light Weaver's Assault if you're playing versus Luxem. There's a lot of good hits Gwaine's doing in the meta right now, and this card has been performing really, really well if you know what you're going into, and if you're expecting a heavy like Luxem Xander meta, this card needs to be brought in as much as possible to go ahead and deal with those types of board states. So 4 of those are in. 4 Lurking Assailants, that's a good 3-drop, 2/3 across the board. You have 3 displaces to pretty much keep your allies alive, something like your Academy Guide alive, so you get the value off of the off of sort of its passive ability to get the 1 less on the collection. 4 Dream Fairies, 4 Fairy Whispers to sort of filter through the top of your deck, maybe hit a couple different cards to draw into your hands, like Rally the Peasants to place, Reclaim, even a Zephyr if you need to. Then you have Rally the Peasants, which has just been a good card. You go into to get your Academy Guide, lets you filter for your dungeon guides. You can even let you search for something like Carter, because Carter is a human. So go ahead and get Carter off the top as well with something like Rally the Peasants. 3 Reclaims, 4 Swift Recruits for the Intercept Floating Memory, and 4 Zephyrs, and then the usual Umbra package. They're running 3 Carters, 4 Mindbreak Bullets, again, to go ahead and filter through your opponent's entire memory, get cards out of there so you can make the game a little bit more into your favored, and then 3 Umbral Tithe as well. Going into the sideboard, you have Diana Cursebreaker. So this list does run the Cursebreaker for the mirror, expecting to go ahead and get rid of those cards out of its champion lineage to deal damage to your opponent. You have 1 Flying Lantern, 1 Quicksilver Grail, a Tithe proc if you're facing that's drawing a lot of cards, 1 Viridian Protective Trinket for any of those water matchups, and then 3 Beseech the Wind if you need to go ahead and get that extra quick level, because the fact you're not running something like, you have your Dungeon Guide, you have your Academy Guide, going ahead and be able to Beseech the Wind can even do something like, say, Academy Guide, because it does reduce the cost of materialization, so you can Beseech the Wind and go ahead and get the level off that as well, with a little bit less if you have Academy Guide on the field. But congratulations again for this #1 winner list. There was 3 of them brought. Only 1 of them made it to the very top, won the whole event. So congratulations again. And we'll go ahead and see who he ended up playing in the final round. Coming in the #2 spot was Trent. Trent is running pretty much his stable at this point. Most people know Trent as the Sylvie player, but really Trent really is playing Water Allies in a lot of these events because it is probably one of his best decks that he brings to events and consistently does really well, winning if not topping if it's a regional. As we see here, this is in second place in this regional with Water Xander. This is sort of going over the nats list that we've seen before. We have Spirit of Water, Xander 1, 2, and 3, using Gorhazi's Chosen, and go ahead and come in with a Spell Shroud or the Stealth, and then you can put a Preparation counter on Xander as well. Get the Fire Resonance Bauble for the fire matchups, a Grand Crusader Ring, Life Essence Amulet. Go ahead if your ally's eye, it's pretty much like another GCR on a stick. You have the Nullifying Lantern here, Poison Dagger. Go ahead and get the extra damage for using like a Septa Lumina. If you can go ahead and go to level 1 Xander, pop it, get the bonus damage on top of it, and then go ahead and get the Dungeon Guide as well to put an extra like pretty much 10 damage on your opponent in a single turn if it's possible. Then going into the main board, pretty much what you expect. You have your Dungeon Guide, you have a Steam Knight, you have the best card in the game in Gildas, you have a second best card in the game with the Lurking Assailant. And then the addition into the main board versus the sideboard is the Morgan Soul Guide. So if you're expecting a lot of Xander lists, bringing in the Morgan into the main board is a really good play because the fact it prevents all non-attack damage that be dealt to it. The only way that Xander can deal with it is something like Thieving Cut or Excalibur, which you're running cards like Karazi Trapper, you're running cards like Song of Frost to pretty much negate those Thieving Cut turns. So which makes your opponent have to really think about how they're going to utilize the attacks. So Morgan can usually stick around as much as possible, and you're really preventing your opponent from gaining the life pretty much every single turn. Because, like I said, if you're level 2, your opponent can't recover. Yeah, 4 Thieving Cuts in there, pretty much just as good card if you're running Assassin. The fact that you use a prep to go ahead and draw a card is really good, especially if you're 2. It replaces itself in its hand, and it pushes 3 damage. Running 2 of the Trained Sharpshooter, 4 Kazi Trappers, pretty much a key in this deck as a whole. 2 Drown Cuts you can use for the Floating Memory as well as an extra attack. If you feel like using such, you have the Sword of Seeking as well, which is total 3 damage with the Drown Cut. 4 Factorize, 3 Freezing Hails, 4 Frostbind, 4 the Swallowsworn Paladins, 2 Lunettes for the ally matchup and the ally mirrors. You have 3 Nia, which again is good to very much slow down Xander because you make Xander have to pay more resources out the level, which is what Luxander really doesn't want to do. So running something like Nia has been really, really good across the board. The fact that you also get the class bonus on top of it for stealth makes it really hard for most people to deal with Nia and just sort of sticks around getting one free chip damage. Then you have 2 Sea Sprite Diver, 4 Snow Fairy, 3 Song of Frost, and 2 Stillwater Patrols. And the fact if you're facing the mirror with Xander Kazi Chosen, or if you're facing someone who's using Evangelist Light, Stillwater Patrol can get in for that attack and deal 3 damage, which that every little bit of shit damage does matter in the long run. In the sideboard, we have the Quicksilver Grail, save Grain normal, 3 Gwain, probably brought in also for the Luxander matchup. The fact you can throw Gwain in, you're already running Assassin, you get the class bonus on hit ability, go ahead and banish the cards out of your opponent's pretty much your opponent's memory. They're going to try and utilize as much as possible. You have the 4th Morgan in there as well with a Freezing Hail. And you have Naluna if you decide to face pretty much more of the ally heavy lists. So congratulations, Trent. Good job tweaking this deck. I think this is a little bit different than the actual NA Nats list. So congrats for pretty much reading the field, making the adjustments as you needed, and then bringing it into a regional and getting 2nd place. And with that, we're going to go ahead to deck number 3. In the 3rd slot is one of the Inso players. So we have, for those who don't know what Inso is, who hasn't been around for the DOA, We're pretty much going to break down this list as much as possible for you because I know I've covered most of the other lists in other videos before. So we're going to go ahead and break over the Inso list as much as possible in this video. So for those of you who aren't aware, stay tuned. So we have Spirit of Fire, you have Lorraine 1, Lorraine 2, and then you go Lorraine Crux Knight. Because of the fact that Inso banishes your swords, you're going to get Lorraine Crux Knight can then deal extra damage on top of it because most of your regalia is banished. So you pretty much want to run a bunch of swords in this list. So you run the usual Drawn Blade to get a drawn extra card, especially if it comes like something like Inso, you still get the draw trigger. You run Sword of Adversity, gets an extra +1 attack if you have no allies, so it usually gets in for about 2 damage. You have Sword of Seeking, you have Warrior's Longsword, which is a 1/2 durability, gets an extra +1. So you usually attack with the sword as well with the Crux Knight, as well as having it attack itself with the Inso ability. You run stuff like the Fire Tongue. Fire Tongue also can gain extra durability if you want to, if you're able to banish a fire card, and then also gets in for 2 attack. But usually you just swing with the 2, and then you can go ahead and banish it if you want. Then you run Erendite. Erendite can get an extra +1 counter for each level of pretty much floating memory. So usually this is going to be your main target that you're going to swing with the attack. For some reason, this card goes off the field. It's why we have stuff like the Warrior's Longsword and Fire Tongue. But on average, you're going to use Erendite to go ahead and get the swing for on its own for a big swing, and then swing again with Crux Knight for another big swing as well, because of the fact that the swords only get banished at the end of turn. Then Carnwyn, I'm probably mispronouncing that name horribly. But the Shot of Edge gets in for 3 attack as well. You don't get the class bonus ability because of the fact you don't have Assassin, but it's mostly just using there because it's a 3/1 swing attack. Going into the main board. The main board here, we have 4 Dungeon Guides, which is normal, 1 Exercise Curse for floating memory, as well as if you're dealing with a Diana list, 4 Humble Vanguard, which is also for floating memory. Pretty much this list is going to be a little bit heavier in the floating memory because of the Arendite that we see in the main material deck. You have 4 Salvage Shots, gets in for attacks, Shield Mates, Create a Shot, Cremation Ritual, and Fire Momentum. Pretty much a little bit of the usual fire package because you run stuff also like Flame Sweep if you're facing them as a little more ally heavy. Fire Momentum goes and buffs your attacks as well if you're swinging in with Lorraine Crux Knight plus Erendite plus Fire Momentum. You get in for a really big swing if you're able to stabilize it as such. And you have stuff like the Flame Rune Swordsman for floating memory, 2/2 Hasty Messenger to go ahead and filter through your deck. Home by Fire to buff your sword if you're able to get from early attack turns in. Especially if you're already Blade Master, then you can Blade Master, Home by Fire, Fire Momentum, and get in for a whole bunch of damage. Increasing Danger, you're going to get some draw mechanics in here. Running Flame as well for another big on attack swing. This is pretty much a meta outside of Water Allies. You're pretty much favored. Not a lot of things are able to deal with Rending Flames. Same thing with Inso outside of Luxander. Not too many are running Resolute Stands anymore. So you can run stuff also. You have stuff like Spurn the Ashing if you're dealing versus the Water Allies list. So you can Spurn the Ash's Scepter or Spurn the Ash something like the Nullifying Lantern if you want to go ahead and Rending Flames. First, Tempered Seal for the pretty much the guaranteed floating memory with fire. 4 Ghost of Pendragon, the absolute best ally in the game. If you're Crux, it's pretty much comes in, draws you 2 cards. And then Spirit, Blade, and Soul. There's a lot of text on this card for those who aren't aware. The pretty much the way this works is that you pay 6, choose any amount of sword weapon cards with memory cost 1 or less from banishment or material deck, and you put them onto the field. Until end of turn, you may attack them as like they're allies. They're not actually allies, so they can't be targeted by any sorts of spells like Focus Flames or Sparkle Light or anything like that. They can just swing as like their allies. Now, beginning of the next end phase, you go ahead and sacrifice all the sword weapons you control. So pretty much you go ahead and get a whole bunch of swords, swing a bunch of damage. Go ahead and swing in with Crux Knight as well if you're able to combo with something else, which is a little bit harder because you're usually paying 6 for the Insol, so it's a little bit harder to do like a Rending Flame or something like that on top of it. But pretty much you go ahead and play Insol, get a bunch of damage in, have an Erendite down with hopefully a bunch of buff counters, get a big swing, and then Crux Knight go ahead and finish it off with a swing with the Erendite as well, so Erendite gets a hit twice. But that's pretty much a quick and dirty breakdown of Insol for those of you who aren't aware. Going to the sideboard, you have the usual Nullifying Lantern, Safe Reanimate, bring in Protect Trinket, another Exercise Cursor facing Diana, a 1x Resolute Stand, bring in the 3rd, and 3 Immolation Traps, more like if you're facing Fire Merlin. The fact that you already play Immolation Trap to go ahead and kill the deer, so you can go ahead and damage that ally, get it off the board, and then finish all the rest of your turn so that you don't have to worry about the whole, prevent half the damage rounded up situation. But congratulations. I don't know if I'm supposed to mount this 12 Ant or Bant. Really, really, really congrats. I'm really happy someone brought Inso to one of these lists. This is something I've been brewing for like early ALC. I feel like Inso had a place in the meta, especially if you were, but it's also harder if you're facing Luxander, made it a lot harder across the board. So you made a really good meta call to bring this. Congrats on getting 3rd. I hope we see Inso more going forward. And like I said, congratulations again. With that being said, we're going to go ahead and drop into the 4th and final deck. So going into the 4th and final deck is, like I said, okay business on Luxander. We're not going to break this down too much. I've broken this down a lot in my past like 3 videos. So if you want, go ahead and jump back into one of those videos as I break it down. But the quick and dirty of it is you're running the version that's going to still run Oasis Trading Post in it. you're running, looks like 2 Gwains for probably the mirror matchup or something like Merlin, so you can get those fireballs out. Then you're running cards as well, like Resolute Stand for Allies list, and sometimes Diana, which makes it really good across the board. And then the interesting sideboard is that you're seeing more and more, at least without a chess club. As you know, Burner is part of chess club. We have the Serene Spirit of Water sideboard with a Water Resonance Bobble and Wind Bobble, so you could swap out the Bobble if you need to. You're not running GCR anymore on the side. Running 4 Fracturize to help pretty much get 4 extra Excaliburs to deal with something like Shadow's Twin or your opponent Diana's weapons. So let you go ahead and stabilize those off the board. And you have a Song of Frost as well, so if your opponent's going to try and combo off for a big turn, you might be able to Song of Frost in response to something. To go ahead, if you're feeling like deploy the gun shield, something like that, you go ahead and Song of Frost your big combo turn, and then go ahead and just prevent that attack as a whole. The bullet, if it is renewable though, still goes back to the memory materialize deck. So make sure you are aware of that. The bullet doesn't pretty much fizzle out. It does get the renewable trigger. But like I said, Fracturize is in there for the pretty much extra Excalibur. We're not running something like Focus Flame anymore as a whole. And you'd have the Wasted Trade posters, pretty much another way to pay 3 down in the memory, and Glimpse is something like your Insignia is off the board. But we're not going to, like I said, we're not going to break this list down too much. This is a list I've covered very, very extensively. Make sure you check out Chess Club's video on Luxander. If you haven't checked out already, check out my other videos. You want another version of breakdown, I'll put the description below the video for Chess Club, so make sure to check that out if you haven't yet. Give them a like and subscribe. They're great, amazing people there, so make sure you go ahead and follow them and their content over there. But with that being said, thank you everyone for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed the video. I've done a couple of things in the background. You can probably see it in the future video coming up. I'm going to announce a couple different things for the channel, especially we're nearing the end of the season. So I have a couple different versions of content coming up and leading up into Worlds. Like I said, thank you again, everyone, for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Leave a comment, subscribe, all the usual garbage, Like I said, pretty much just shows that people like the content, want me to keep on doing this. But like I said, thank you again for watching. Hope everyone has a good one. Peace.